So there's a lot of things going on in your body right now. There's a lot of things that you're trying to do, probably lose weight. You're trying to wake up early. But one of the things that you probably are not concerned about is how well your heart health is actually doing. And this is this is the engine, right? This is the engine of your car to keep you going. So here with me today is Heather Shasa from Welding Wellness. Heather, thank you so much for being here. So a lot of what you do is with heart health, dietary. So that way people don't have to talk to the heart surgeon, right? And hopefully get them off some medications. Is that pretty much sum up in one sentence there?
Absolutely. Yeah, because the heart is such a vital organ and it's so important that we focus on it, right? Especially for prevention all the way up to treatment. So whether that's working with somebody with high cholesterol or high triglycerides, all the way up to somebody that might have heart failure or is going into heart surgery. Nutrition, lifestyle is so important in order to make sure we're optimizing that system.
Yeah. And so I want to kind of shed some light on how you kind of got in this field and why people should trust what you say, because you're not just some YouTube guru or like anybody that, hey, you do this and right. This isn't something that you've looked on ChatGPT or Google, but you actually have a very good backstory on how you've got in here and why people should trust you. So would you mind sharing kind of why you do what you do and kind of the expertise leading all the way around that?
Yeah, absolutely. So heart health has always been a part of my life since the age of 5. And so the reason why is because my dad had his first heart attack at age 40. And that's when we found out that he not only had high cholesterol, but also type 2 diabetes. And so as a family, my mom did her best to kind of put together nutrition and lifestyle of the early 90s at that point, right? To really try to help us all with our heart health. And so unfortunately, we have a high genetic condition called familial hypercholesterolemia in our family that causes very elevated cholesterol levels and also risks for early heart disease. And so my dad unfortunately went on to have 2 more heart attacks and passed at the age of 47.
Wow.
And so it was because of him that I wanted to further my knowledge and my nutrition and all of that in my endeavors to really honor him and to help other individuals like him who are grappling with all of the misinformation, not sure where to really turn to for nutrition guidance and support. So I wanted to create that as a resource. And so I became a registered dietitian and then further went on to become a clinical lipid specialist.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, that had to be hard, losing your dad at such a young age. And so I can't imagine what that was like. But I love that you went on to try to help make a difference, through the pain, that you had to go through. And then that way others don't have to experience that kind of pain and that you help people out. And just to let you guys know, we're not trying to scare you on this. Like, we're not saying like,
not at all.
oh my gosh, like if you have like feel like a little bit of arrhythmia or something, like, holy crap, and scare you, right? It's just kind of more of awareness about heart health, because it can be overlooked, especially with diets nowadays, right? You have the new pyramid that came out with like the whole foods, right? We've kind of flipped the pyramid completely upside down. So we're changing. Government said, hey, you should eat this way for decades. And I think they changed it in between that, if memory serves. Didn't they like change it to like, instead of like horizontal, it was more vertical or something? I never looked into that or even care, but I think it had the same stuff. I feel like that was kind of like a rebrand for the food pyramid. They got bored, but I could be wrong on that. But it's just trying to build awareness and trying to essentially like eat better, So in that way you're taking care of the main vital organ that does so much work in our bodies.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's really kind of what I try to do with my clients is to take all of the information and how do we put it together for real life, right? What does that look like when you're working one or two jobs? You have different culture influences. You have all this different information around you. How do we make it practical and sustainable for you? And how do we create a dietary pattern that is going to be heart healthy? That is not just a quick fix of something that you follow for 4 weeks and then fall off. Like, how do we get past that mark and continue to live your life better?
Yeah. So how long have you been doing Welding Wellness, specifically more towards the heart health side of things?
Yeah, so I started my business as on the side about, I think it's 7 or 8 years ago now.
Okay.
And really kind of honed in that direction because I knew that I always wanted my own private practice to be able to really meet people where they're at in their heart health journey. And so kind of building it up from there. And I knew that I wanted it to be virtual because my dad was an electrician and he was working a lot and going to different towns. And it was very difficult to sometimes carve out time to go see a healthcare provider.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to be able to provide that for my clients. So that way it reduced one more barrier to getting the nutrition advice and support that they needed. So I knew I wanted to be virtual. And then I knew I wanted to be insurance based. And so I crafted it together and, kind of building and continuing to build out the resources. So really have been focusing and honing in on the heart health space for like the past almost 8 years.
That's awesome. I actually didn't know that you are insurance based. Like, that is really cool. Like, I thought it was kind of like, hey, so she is really qualified, guys. Like, holy crap, if you can accept insurance, like that is like a big check. Cause I know there's a lot of different people, the way they operate. They're like, nope, we don't accept insurance. Sometimes you just can't.
Right.
And sometimes it's a hoop to jump through. I don't even know, like I can't even begin to speak. So I just base off other stories. Like I think like chiropractors, they're kind of hard on trying to get insurance. And then of course, like Medicare or Medicaid, they will say like, absolutely not on preventative insurance. What kind of insurances do you accept? And like, so you say it's virtual. And so if you have a client, I'm just going to say Texas, maybe let's go far, let's go Maine. Okay. Far across. Cause maybe, and they have insurance. Can you help them with the insurance, even though they're in Maine, because you're based in Colorado?
That's a great question. So it really depends actually on licensure. So I am not sure if Maine has licensure for dietitians.
Okay.
If they do, there is a process that you have to go through. Sometimes, like, for example, like the state of Colorado, as long as you're a registered dietitian, you can see clients in Colorado. But for example, New York, you need licensure. So you have to apply. There's certain different guidance that you need to kind of follow. And also you might need to have like a payment or whatnot in order to get that license. So it really depends on the state where your client is located. And so I can see clients from Colorado, California, New Jersey. I got licensure for Maryland actually for a client.
All right.
Because again, depending on what that looks like, like it just depends for medical nutrition therapy. Now, as far as insurance goes, what a lot of people don't realize is that your insurance provider can cover preventative nutrition services. So you might get anywhere between 3 sessions all the way up to unlimited sessions at sometimes no cost to you, or maybe a deductible or copay doesn't even apply. And so it's worth having that conversation with your insurance provider because a lot of people don't even realize that that's even an option for preventative nutrition services.
Yeah. I honestly, I didn't like, until we started recording, I didn't know that was an option. I thought it was just kind of like an out of a pocket because a lot of like, again, preventative and dietary, you see them all online, like the health coaches, the health gurus, right? Like insurance isn't covering everybody. So that is really great. And I'm glad that you shared that people who want to try to get preventative care for their heart, is it's a lot more accessible than I actually originally thought.
Yeah. And even if it's just a starting point, like let's say your insurance covers 4 sessions, right? At least that's a starting point, right? And then you can continue onward with sessions if it's winds up being out of pocket, or maybe you have an HSA or FSA account, trying to at least get the ball rolling, right?
Yeah.
Because we know that lifestyle changes don't happen overnight.
Yeah.
And sessions with a dietitian can be helpful to help to bridge that gap. And so habits take time. So the more nutrition sessions and touch points we can have, the more opportunity we have to help somebody really build a foundation for their heart health and extend that beyond 3 months, 6 months, a year.
Yeah.
Making it something that could last a lifetime, hopefully.
Yeah. So this could be a loaded question.
Okay.
Because, right, it's like, well, I mean, you should start now. Probably that's probably the answer. But when should people start focusing and honing and like opening up this conversation about heart health?
So the best time is yesterday.
Yeah.
And then the second best time is today.
Yeah.
And so when we think about heart disease, it is a lifelong potential condition, right? That we really need to focus on, heart disease in general. And so I think having that conversation is something that we can have starting now, especially just exploring what your family history looks like. Do you have a family history of early cardiac events or high triglycerides or high cholesterol, high blood pressure, right? Having a conversation with family members. Another thing is get your physical.
Yeah.
So many times we don't just have that basic physical and knowing our numbers, which I would say would be like the second tip, is get a lipid panel, which is going to check for at least your cholesterol, your LDL, HDL, triglycerides as a basics. Know your blood pressure, know your blood sugar, right?
Yeah.
Think of it like almost like these are indicator lights for your car, right? If they start to be elevated or they're kind of flashing, we need to pay attention to them.
Yeah.
We want to explore a little bit why they're maybe higher or what's going on. And so the more that we know our numbers, what we measure, we can manage. And then we start to build from there, right? How can we look at all of these different factors, see those numbers, those physical representations, but what are we also doing on the daily? What does our nutrition look like? What does our lifestyle look like? What does our sleep habits, our physical activity, right? All of that. So I think knowing your family history, knowing your numbers, and having at least that basis can then help you start to prioritize your heart health, to figure out where should you focus. And that's kind of can be overwhelming. Right? Where do you start? How do you triage if you have multiple situations going on, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I help my clients do, is kind of how do we bring it back from the overwhelm to start to create that clarity in the confusion.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you mentioned like the whole, like, the light indicators in your car, right? Like it's going to like, because how many of us like, oh, I need to change my oil. And then you don't change the oil for so long. And then all of a sudden, something goes on. It's like, well, the light kicked on.
Right.
I was trying to warn you here. And it's like, so getting that panel done and then actually looking like it, bright, like it can be scary. I know with my family, when we got all of our blood work done, it was, it wasn't fun. We have young kids, right? They're going to get poked. It's not fun, but we would rather know. And I'm so thankful that we did. And this isn't related to heart. I mean, I guess it could be, but you can tell me yes or no.
Okay.
But I mean, we found out my son has both celiac genes.
Interesting.
They aren't developed, but they're like, chances are because he has both, it's going to develop. So me and my wife, we made the switch to gluten-free, and we didn't like, okay, our son's gluten-free. Sucks to be you, right? Like we took that on as a family, to go through it together as a family. And right, because it's hard. Like it was hard for me going gluten free.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
I still love me some Popeyes. You know what I mean? They tell me I can't have Popeyes no more. But like, we didn't want him to have to do that and to like have those conversations. And now he's vocal. Hey, it's gluten free. And it's like, it's not going to hurt you, bud. Like,
yeah.
But again, that was a small, like little indicator, like there's a high chance this is going to develop in him later on in life. Great. Let's take care of the indicator light.
Right.
And it's just information, guys. That's all that is. And then you get to make the choice of whether or not you want to keep living the way you are, or you can try to do something different and extend the quality of your life. Right? Ultimately, people still have the decision.
Right. And I think that's so great though, because, having the blood work done, now you're able to manage it, right? If you don't know what you don't know. Right? But now you know, so you can do something about it. So if we look at like cholesterol levels, and I'm going to use this as an example because it's similar to what you're experiencing, is familial hypercholesterolemia, which is what I have. It's known as FH, and it's a genetic condition.
Okay.
The way that you can screen for FH is through a basic lipid panel. So usually LDL levels, your lousy or your bad cholesterol will come back very elevated, usually greater than 160 for children, milligrams per deciliter, and greater for 190 for adults.
Okay.
And if you have a family history of early cardiac events, and so what I mean by that is if you've had men in your family that have had like a heart attack or stroke before the age of 50, and for women 60, it leans to most likely being FH. With this being known, right, we can screen children as young as 2 years old to see if they have elevations in their cholesterol levels. And so by finding that information out sooner, we can be more proactive, because unfortunately, sometimes the first time that somebody finds out about FH, it's usually a heart attack and usually is a poor outcome.
Okay.
So the sooner that we can reach our children that have a genetic disorder, the sooner that we can treat them and hopefully help them to outlive their parents, which is what happened in me and my sister's case with my dad.
Yeah.
That we found out we had high cholesterol because he had his first heart attack. We would have never been screened otherwise. My mom was the one that's like, let's get their cholesterol checked. If you have high cholesterol, our grandfather passed away at 53. He had high cholesterol. So it got that conversation started, which then was able to cascade into my entire life, right? And yours now too. It's a complete switch. It shouldn't just be just one person, right? It's creating that whole family, because since it's passed in families, that's inherited, right? And so one or both of your parents could have the genetic condition.
Yeah. So what is kind of like the diet like? Because to me, one of the things that I think about is, right, because you got to change your diet. You've got to, start worrying about your heart health. And some people, they hear the word diet and it's like, great, I'm going to be eating a cabbage block or cabbage thing. That's right. Like at least in my mind, that's what I envision, is just grabbing a big old head of cabbage and you're eating it. You can't put dressing on it. You can't do anything. And that's your life now. And it sucks. And so people are like, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to keep eating the way I want. But what does a diet kind of look like with, I feel like that might also be like a loaded question, because depending on like the severity and what the panels come back on.
Right.
But what does like a typical diet look like?
And that's a great question, because so often we think of like heart health, you have to eat like a rabbit, or it has to not lack, it lacks flavor, right? Or things like that. It's so much better than what you think it is, right? But it's scary, because when you hear, I have to watch my diet for my heart, what does that even look like, right? So if we look at foods that are impactful, right, or nutrients, we don't want to single out like one food that's good or bad for heart health. We're looking at an entire dietary pattern. And so what we know that can be beneficial is really supporting adding fiber-rich foods, our fruits, our vegetables, our whole grains, our unsaturated fats, like our heart-healthy fats, your nuts, your seeds, your olives, avocados, right? Adding in more of a kind of plant-forward approach, but still being mindful of choosing leaner proteins. So it's creating a more balanced plate rather than singling out one nutrient.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of tailor it to the individual. So maybe somebody might have higher cholesterol levels or higher blood pressure. Maybe we want to be more careful of sodium. Look at what they're doing and how can we make it 1% better?
Yeah.
How can we start to make those swaps that are going to compound and make impact over time?
Yeah. So with people that are kind of like on this diet, because you mentioned like don't single out foods, I'm going to single out some foods.
You can single out foods. We can talk about it.
But I mean, I'm just like, right, like my brain is kind of like a 4th grade, 5th grade level. Like people are like, you're smarter than that. I'm like, I'm really not, at least in my lingo. But well, that's maybe like a 7th grade word. So 7th grade, we'll say 7th grader. Anywho, if someone is on this diet, right, and like I'm just going to say potato chips. Right. I mean, there's a whole aisle at Walmart. There's a whole aisle at Target. Wherever you go, there's plethora of potato chips. When you are working on your heart health, are those cut out completely? I mean, obviously, the answer is if you want the best results, best life, yes. But we are all human. We all make mistakes. We all have weaknesses. And some people's are the sour cream and onion Lay's.
Won't mention any names.
I won't mention names. But like, what does that look like for them? Like, do you encourage them to like, yes, it's okay to have a bag, or do you say I would really try to stay away? Like, what does that conversation look like?
Yeah, no, that you're absolutely right. Because when you go to the store, especially the first time you're ever trying to buy for your heart health, it is extremely overwhelming because as one of my clients said when she was in the yogurt section, it looks like more colors in a paint store. How do I choose which one, right? Because it's so overwhelming. And so you're there staring at, you don't know how to make these decisions. And so what I talk to my clients about is why they like potato chips. Okay, they're salty, right? Is there maybe another option? Doesn't mean we have to cut them out completely. It just means, can we add in more of the maybe nutrients that are supporting heart health and keep those as our sometimes foods, right?
Yeah.
So another thing that comes up, eat everything in moderation. Okay, that's great, but what is moderation? Moderation could be having maybe less cookies. Like instead of a sleeve of cookies, you do half of a sleeve, right?
Yeah.
Is that moderation? And so I try to quantify that. Right? So to me, that might look like eating 80 to 90% of your meals are on track, right? Follow a dietary pattern that's heart healthy. Leaving maybe 10% of wiggle room for those special occasions or the times that you might eat your potato chips or the times that you're going for your son's birthday party and you want to have a cupcake. Okay, that's okay, right?
Yeah.
Because when we build that in, that creates mindfulness. And it no longer becomes kind of this all or none response.
Yeah.
You're mastering the middle.
Yeah.
Alex Hormozi said that.
I love that.
Which I love it. It's so true because that's where it gets hard.
Yeah.
Right? Because all or none, you do it really well, but then the minute like a challenge comes up or a minute that you're tempted or tested, then you fall back.
Yeah.
And so we don't want to do that, right? And by actually allowing yourself and knowing that you can have that option occasionally, that actually can keep you on track and help you to keep this sustainable long term.
Okay. And what would sorry, I lost my question.
That's okay.
Wow, that I literally watched the thought train just go completely out. Oh man.
Moderation.
Yeah. The middle.
Mastering the middle.
Yeah, I know it was something along those lines. Oh,
so how do we master the
Billie
middle?
Jean.
Right? Okay. You'll think about it.
Like, yeah, I love that question. How do you master the middle?
Yes.
You know, instead of just being on one end, because being on, we've seen that. I'm sure everyone has experienced that, right? New Year's is a great one.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, I'm going to start working out. I'm going to start doing good. And it's, you mentioned it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't working out. Now they're all of a sudden working out. And then, I have to take a kid to a soccer game, or I have to take a kid here, or something happens and you miss that workout day. And it's like, well, I'm not working out anymore. And then you're whoop. And then you just like do this like bunny hop thing. Like, it's like, I started missing working out. I'm not working out anymore. And then guess what? You're not working out for the rest of the year and you haven't developed the habit because you haven't mastered the middle.
Correct. And you're right, is there's so much that comes up in life, right? We can plan and life happens. And so especially we'll use New Year's resolutions as an example, right? We set them, but then we don't sustain them.
Yeah.
And the reason we don't sustain them is because we don't set up our system or our environment to support them on the days that it gets really busy, right? So again, I'm going to quote James Clear from Atomic Habits. If you ever want a good book, please read his. He has a quote that says, "We don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems." And it's so true.
Yeah.
Right? If we don't build a system on how we can make an action sustainable, right, or consistent enough,
yeah,
it doesn't compound to become a habit. And habits, especially, again, we'll use New Year's, 21 days, a habit will be magically formed. Life doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't.
There's a study that shows it takes an average of 66 days up to 254 days to make an action automatic, to become a habit.
Yeah.
And so if you look at that, that might be 2 months. It could be 3/4 of a year, right? And so how do we make action sustainable? We build the system.
Yeah.
We build our environment to support that. We make the habits or the actions we want easier, more accessible. And the ones that are hindering our progress, we start to move them to the back. We start to let go of them. And so I think that's a lot of the time of working with my clients is when they're working in, let's say, construction, right? And they're one day in the office and one day in the field, right? How do we plan for meals? How do we make it easy for them? How do we, on the nights that they're like, I don't know what to eat, or I don't want to eat what I had planned, what's our next option?
Yeah.
Right? So it's constantly having the tools so that way you can then get 1% better. You can make the better options. Not always the best,
Yeah.
but if you can make better, that 1% is going to compound and you're going to start to see changes.
Yeah. I completely related to the whole, like, how do you plan for dinner? Because there are times like, and we're getting better at meal planning right now.
That's great.
But it's like one of the things that we don't like to meal plan is lunch. But it's funny because what do we eat for lunch? Well, we don't know. And so it's been fascinating. So it's like, yeah, we might have to just bite the bullet and just plan lunches too. And it does make it harder. Meal planning is harder. With AI though, has made it so much easier. One tip on that, guys, if you are meal planning, one thing that has helped us out a lot is you have your go-to meals, right? The first, I'm going to say the 21 days, like the meal planning, like take about 21 days and sit down and meal plan. And then take all that information and you can load it into your little AI. You can have it save, whatever. And then it says, I need a meal plan for the week. Now it's working off of 21 days worth of meals, right? And so if you get bored, right? If you don't want to, I love Taco Tuesday. So, but like, I'm just going to say,
Yeah.
if you don't want to do tacos on Tuesday for 1 week, right? You have 21 days of meals. You have 21 different dinners. You have 21 different lunches. You have 21 different breakfasts. I don't know if I can do 21 different breakfasts.
That might be
like,
a little bit.
That's a lot. But like the point is that you have all of it and then you make it easier to then meal plan. And yeah, I love that you share because yeah, it is difficult to try to plan something, especially if you're worried and trying to get your heart health under control or trying to make a better choice.
Yeah.
You have to have a system. You have to have a process in line. Yes, the goal is to eat a salad with every meal with like a small vinaigrette. That's great. But unless you build up a system or a process to ensure that you have lettuce in your fridge and it's not going bad and it's cycling out, you're not going to attain it. You're going to forget the salad or if you know what? I don't know what I want with dinner. I'm going to do a pizza. Are you going to fix that salad with your pizza? Probably not. Most people not.
And it doesn't even have to just always be a salad.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but you're right. Like it's, how do we make it easy? Right. And so a caveat also with with AI too, is it's not foolproof.
Yeah.
So sometimes it might give you some good information and sometimes it can be a little iffy. So again, working to kind of tailor it to you. And so it's good that it gives you some more options, but that can also feel overwhelming. If you have 21 different meals, 21, you're like, I don't even know where to start. So start with 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Right? Like break it down, take out the decision making, because that's where I find that mental load that we can sometimes have, especially during the week, like what's for dinner, what's for lunch, getting simple. Getting back to basics, right? Dinner doesn't have to be all these rare ingredients that's, going to take an hour in the kitchen. No. Can it be 30 minutes? Can it be 5 ingredients or less?
Yeah.
Right? And so for you, like it might be just, having some of my clients like really like the same thing every day. Great. Can we add a little bit more variety? Right? Or cycle through some different options? Or do they like leftovers? How can we optimize that, right? Make that an option. So it really depends on preferences, what's going to work. If they work night shifts, right? Versus maybe they have weekend days. Who wants to meal prep all day on a Sunday?
Yeah.
That's tough.
It is tough.
So maybe it's, again, what I work with my clients with is like, how do we break it down? Can we plan one day and maybe order another day, right? Don't do it all in one day if we don't have that mental capacity.
Yeah.
Nor the time.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like, which is a big barrier.
Yeah, and that is true. Like to do the inwardly looking of where's your time, because you mentioned like decision, like there's decision crippling, like I forget what it's called, but where it'll cripple you to make a decision, and somebody outside looking in is like, that's not a hard decision to make. Like, what do you mean? Should you cook dinner or not? Yeah, like cook dinner. You're gonna need it. Like, and so you think about all the decisions the average person has to make during the day. Like just being on this pod, like we had to make the decision to sit down. Do I turn on the camera? Like these are very just mundane decisions. That's like, yes, I'm gonna hit record. Yes, I'm gonna turn on the microphones. Yes, I'm gonna sit in the chair. No, I'm not going to take this street. I'm actually going to take this street instead for like you to get here. Like there's all these minimal decisions. But again, when you have hundreds and hundreds of decisions that you're making every day, it compounds. So then once you get to your meal,
right,
you're done. This is a big decision. But because you had all these micro decisions that added up to a lot, it's now outweighing the decision that you need to make on what to have for dinner, what are you going to cook, and it cripples you. And so I feel like that leads to a lot of, unfortunately, bad decisions of we're going to order pizza, we're going to order Chinese food, we're going to order, like typically ordering, or it's like, you know what, I have a bag of chips, I'm going to snack on that because I'm hungry, and then I'll figure out dinner later. Well, then the chip kind of satisfies, they're no longer hungry, and then we are making more decisions. We're getting more distracted. And guess what? 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock rolls around. Oh, I need to eat something.
Right.
You know what? I'm going to have, I have like a brownie, or I have this. And all of a sudden, like our health is just exploded. Not because you're a bad person. It's just your decision process, your decision making just got outweighed, and you got decision fatigued.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right, because we go into default mode, right? When we're stressed, we go into what's familiar, what's comfortable. And usually that's you're falling back to your go-to meals, your go-to groceries, right? Yes, we want to be maybe trying other meals, but if we don't plan for them, exactly like what you said happens, right? We get the produce with good intentions, and then it goes bad because we didn't know what to do with that zucchini or whatever. It just goes to waste, right?
Can you tell I related to that one?
Or like my one client, I think she called it the day trip apple, where you pack your apple right in your lunchbox and it goes to work with you, and then it comes back because you don't eat it, right? Yeah. So it's like, how do we become more intentional? Right?
Yeah.
And so it might even just be something as simple as, again, planning, right? Reverse engineering. Instead of going through the grocery store and picking up everything, right? Plan first, then make your list, and then go.
Yeah.
Not only does that help you then to know, okay, if I purchase this zucchini, I'm going to turn it and I'm going to roast it with this.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to use it to make like zucchini chips or something. I don't know. Just you'll know what you're doing with it. So not only is that going to help you to build more balanced meals, that is going to support your heart health, your energy levels,
Yeah.
right? Your mental load, because you already know what you're doing with it.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can also make sure it's balanced and it's budget friendly.
Yeah.
Because now you're not wasting food,
Yep.
right? You're being more conservative in your cart, and that could be really helpful. Another thing that you could do, again, if you don't have time, put it in a shop from home order, right? Or like an Instacart order or whatever order you can do, right?
Yeah.
And they can deliver it. You could pick it up if you need to, and have that be maybe something else that could help you to then stay on track. Right?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like seeing things outside of a perspective can help other people then see where can we make some changes, right?
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, like you had to put on the cameras and turn on buttons. I wouldn't know that. That's
Yeah.
why you're doing the podcast, right? I have no idea this tech setup, but that's why people will work with a dietitian. It's like, I don't know what I don't know. And how can you help me then decide how can I make it easier? How can I make these habits stick?
Yeah. Yeah. That was a lot of great information. And
Just kind
like,
of went down the rabbit hole. With
yeah,
that.
no, you're good. Like, I mean, like the grocery store, like we love doing the pickup thing.
Yeah.
I have yet to find a good grocery store that actually cares about the produce.
That one's a tough one. I
Like,
have to say across the board, it's tough.
I mean, it's right. It's teenagers, young adults. They're just getting started. They're in there. They're collecting a paycheck. So they're not like worried. They're just like, okay, I got to fill this. And they have a time limit to get it done. So yeah, the produce is not going to be the greatest when you pick that up. But you talk about helping with a lot of your clients and helping the meal plan and break down the processes. And that's how we kind of got started on this whole meal planning and building out the systems. What story can you share from a client? It may be hard because I know you work with a lot of different people that just like, they got their blood plan and they're like, holy crap, I better fix something. And then maybe like, hey, like I'm feeling great. I don't have this. Or maybe they came off a prescription. Like what kind of story can you do? And again, it might be hard to narrow down to one.
Oh, there's so many. And I just love all my clients. Like they're just willing to learn and to implement and try as they go. But there's a couple that stick out in my mind. And when we think about this too, like your blood work or, a result, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guided them, but they did the work, right?
Yeah.
Where we fixed the inputs so we could see these outputs.
Yeah.
Right? So there was a gentleman that had been diagnosed with high cholesterol, previously had a heart attack, and he was also slightly elevated in his blood sugar. And so what we did was we literally looked at his family history, went through medications, like really broke everything down and started to create a game plan for him. So after working together for about 4 to 5 months, he lost about 40 pounds. He was able to reduce his blood pressure medication in half. His lipid levels came down, and not just LDL. There's other particles that also were able to lower, like apolipoprotein B. I could go on to all the other ones.
Yeah.
Triglycerides lowered. But most importantly, he got back to his college playing weight, as he called it,
okay.
because that was big for him. And he did that, and he was also had more energy. He was able to participate with his grandchildren,
Yeah.
be around and be present in good health.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that is just so impactful. He was just so amazing to work with. And so now he doesn't work with me because he reached his goals, but that's what ultimately I hope to be able to, is to set them up for success and know that I'm always that anchor point if they ever need to come back. So he was probably one of the most impactful.
Yeah, that is awesome. I love hearing stories about that, about how, people are they're able to get their weight down. they're able to get off medications. They're all able to like lower prescription, like all that stuff, because honestly, like we weren't made to take in prescriptions, right? Like we were made to enjoy the nice foods and stuff. And it's just kind of been like a massive, like, all right, like mass produce, low quality, like we just got to eat. And it's just, we've kind of gotten away from it. But to hear you coming alongside and just hearing those stories of people just bettering their health, bettering their lives, being able to be with their grandchildren, being able to be more present because they're not restricted by their health,
right,
is amazing. And so thank you so much for sharing that. Is there anything that you would like to add? I know we're kind of getting long on time, but is there anything that maybe we're talking about, you had an idea, a thought, or like another story, or how many people you've had, like anything at all?
Yeah, no, I think it's to be an advocate for yourself, you know, and it's okay to feel scared. It's okay to be uncertain, but it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to talk to your healthcare provider and then start that process. Like the biggest factor, right, to heart health is just getting started. And even if, let's say, you fall off track, right, or you kind of derail a little bit, you can always come back.
Yeah.
Right. And you're a lot further along than if you've never started.
Yeah.
And so heart health is lifelong. Right. And so the systems and the process is going to be that way as well.
Yeah.
But you can make such an impact, and people can change their heart health and the end result by focusing on nutrition and lifestyle, social connections, everything, right? Like all those things that we don't talk about, better sleep, all of it, to really change.
Yeah. Awesome. How can someone get in contact with you? Because obviously you do things virtually, so you're not just tied to here in Northern Colorado.
Correct.
Obviously you can definitely help people. If you are in the Northern Colorado area or you're up this way, you can definitely probably schedule an appointment with Heather and you'll meet them face to face.
Yeah.
And so you can do that. But for anyone who's wanting to just get in contact, maybe start the conversation, how can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so you could go to my website at www.weldingwellness.com. You can also follow me on social media, Welding Wellness. And then you could also reach out to me, email, you can DM me just to start the conversation, and I can direct you to where I could be of help, hopefully. And again, I offer one-to-one nutrition services, also a membership community called the Heart Health League that you can connect to, and also some resources to help you really take that first step forward.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on here. And yeah, if you guys have any questions for Heather, definitely feel free to reach out to her. She's happy to answer any questions, sit down with you and get the ball rolling and partner alongside to see where you're at. And don't forget the tips, right? Get a physical, go get your blood work done. Check that. Again, it's not to scare you. It's just to get that baseline. It's just to see where you are at, see what kind of lights indicators are on and how you can go about getting those to turn off, essentially, for lack of a better term. But yeah, also let us know in the comments if you found this helpful. If you have questions, we can definitely pass those on to Heather. And as always, you guys feel free to let us know what you guys want to hear. If you want to have Heather back on and kind of do a deeper dive, let us know in the comments below. Again, this show is free. This is for you, our viewers. So we want to know what you want to hear, what is working for you, what isn't working for you. So in that way we can provide you with the most value. So thank you so much for tuning in. And Heather, thank you again for being on.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.